Thank you. Right, Mr. Watt.
Kia ora.
Kia ora. Now we've got 10 minutes with you. So I will just say this at the outset because for anyone listening, please leave some time for questioning. We've all read your submissions. So I suggest, and I know you're very skilled, but I'm just saying this publicly, draw out the major points you want us to hear, leave the detail and leave a little bit of time for questions. That'd be fantastic. The floor is yours.
Thank you. Kia ora, and thank you for having me. We support the stated purpose of the Arms Bill insofar that it does provide greater protection for the public and explicitly states that firearms or ownership of firearms is a privilege and not a right. Our members are the biggest cohort that is at risk of the manufacture, distribution and use of firearms. And we implore the Select Committee to take that on board when considering the recommendations. We've highlighted a number of points within our submissions that go to diminishing, I suppose, the security and safety of our membership and officers out there. And take the time to highlight just those main points for you here now before question time. One in particular is we do have concerns around the transparency and decision-making processes that have been employed throughout this process, including the inadequate consultation and limits on the time to develop the appropriate legislation and explore alternatives to this. There is a proposed weakening in regards to the connection between the police and the Firearms Safety Authority or the regulator as a result of the proposed changes. And we see this as detrimental to our members in the sense that intelligence may be lost and safety and security reasons are lessened because of that fracture, I suppose, in the relationship or the removal of police from that relationship. We also see or have an issue with the simplifying of the regulatory requirements. When we consider the nature of all things that can be simplified, firearms isn't one of them. It's vitally important that we don't simplify that process and that we really keep that stringent and tight. There's a couple of areas that we think the Select Committee can make some improvements on. One in particular is raising the age from 16 to 18 years for firearms licence holders, and also the potential of introducing a system very similar to the learner's licence. Currently within the firearms law, you have a graduated system for a pistol, for example, where you'll have to join a pistol club, go to the club. We see an opportunity here for a graduated type licence system in regards to firearms as well. So I submit those are the main points in regards to our submission and open up for questions.
Okay, members. Right, Mr. Scott Willis.
Thank you. Yes, we have certainly heard that there's a concern that this has been a bit of a speedy process, that there hasn't been wide engagement. In fact, there's been specific engagement, but not as wide as it could have been. Do you think this is, you've pointed to that risk in that. There's a concern that we might end up with something that isn't quite delivering what it says it's going to deliver in terms of safety. In that respect, the recommendations that you're making, they're quite important in terms of a graduated licence. But I also want to think about where the chief executive
What's the question?
is appointed. What are your thoughts on that appointment?
Yeah, and look, when we and that goes right to the heart of the licence review process, for example. What's really important is that we have a transparent nature here. It needs to be a credible model in which people are appointed on a merit-based system. If that doesn't happen, then unfortunately the proposed bill will lack that transparency and potential impact that it should have. We're talking about firearms here, and it's really important that we get this right and that the nature is transparent and it's merit-based, not the other way around.
Okay. Honourable Ginny Anderson.
Thank you very much. Just checking you can hear me. Okay.
Yeah.
That's great. Steve, I'm just interested in, you touched on the FSA and that intelligence may be lost. It is, it's quite clear that police, or even as referred to as the Minister, blue shirts, are sort of removed from any kind of decision-making role or any ability within FSA. I'm just interested to know why do you think that has happened? To me, it seems that that's where you've got a body of institutional knowledge, and excluding that from decision making seems perverse. And just interested to see if you've thought about why that might have been her position.
Look, I think it comes down to the transparent nature of the process and the limited time in which we've had to consult and look at alternatives. It's really sort of been railroaded a little bit, which unfortunately has seen us end up where we are. The police being part of the FSA is an extremely important issue for us, as it does provide safety and security for our members in the sense that there is coherent information sharing and there is a robust system in place whereby we can share that information and make sure that safety and security is at the forefront of not only the public but also members of police.
I've got one more question quickly. Sorry, Andrew. Would you consider that simply removing police or sworn police from decision-making roles seems to be an ideological position as opposed to having any practical outcome?
Yeah, look, I would agree with that. Ultimately, it's vitally important police are engaged throughout the whole process, including being in the FSA.
Okay, Mr. Todd Stevenson.
So supplementary, no, primary. So you think it's good governance to have the regulator and the enforcer as the same group of people?
Yes, and ultimately the police have done that role for a number of years and have done it very, very well. There's nothing to suggest that that side of it has been lacking. So
Right.
I would suggest that yes, that is appropriate.
You think that's appropriate governance?
It's, as I say, it's been working for a very, very long time, and yes, it would be
I
appropriate.
don't think you understood Mr. Stevenson's question.
No.
He was asking, do you think the governance, having a separate organisation managing the firearms safety, is a good governance model?
Yes.
That's his question.
I think you can have both. You can have the police involved in the system. It can be governed by a chief executive that sits outside of the police. However, it's that interaction between the two that is vitally important, and you need both to be in the room, so to speak, to make sure that that can happen.
So can I just ask the question, what is stopping you from being in the room? Is there, you don't see any mechanism for you to be able to participate in sharing of intelligence, or what? What is the concern?
And this,
Because I understand the point, right?
Yes.
And we all want, police of course have a lot of information, intelligence, get that.
yes.
Is there a mechanism, if you accept the argument that you're going to have a separate firearms authority, is there a mechanism that you'd like to see enshrined that would enable that sharing of intelligence, both in a precautionary manner, but also, you know, in other aspects?
And I think that's one of the problems, is that we don't know what that method is. At the present point of time, we're obviously integrated with the FSA. We have boots on the ground, so to speak. What we don't know is, what does that future state look like? How do they share that information? How do we interact with each other to get the best for the public of New Zealand? That's what we don't know at the moment, and that's what's a little bit scary.
Right, thank you. I'm going to take the last question from Mr. Carl Bates.
Thanks, Chair. In the submission, you referred to a deactivated firearm doesn't have a definition. You don't necessarily provide what you see the definition as needing to be, and I wondered if you have wording for a proposed definition of a deactivated firearm.
Yeah, so deactivated is a little bit obscure in our opinion, in the sense that if you take, for example, an MSSA, you can turn that into a normal firearm, but it still holds critical parts that can be changed back and make it back into its original state as an MSSA. We suggest that deactivation would actually mean, or should mean, inoperable or incapable of being used at all. Because as it stands at the moment, there is an opportunity to return a firearm back to its born state.
Right, thank you, Mr. Watt. What I'm going to ask you, a little bit of homework. That question, if you accept that that we will have a separate firearm safety authority, what mechanism would you like to see where there is a better interplay between New Zealand Police, particularly around sharing of intelligence? How would you see that working?
Yes.
Don't do that now, but I'd ask you to return to the committee and there's maybe some ideas on that.
Lovely. Thank you
All
very
right,
much for your
thank you
time.
very much.